Welcome to SuQuietSleep. I'm so glad you are here tonight. Find a comfortable position and let your body settle gently beneath you. Relax your shoulders. Release any tension in your jaw. Soften the muscles around your eyes and brow. Take a slow breath in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. With each steady breath, the sounds of your day begin to fade quietly into the background. There is nowhere else you need to be tonight. Now, let yourself drift softly into tonight's story. Tonight, we step softly back nearly 1,300 years ago into Chang'an, the capital city of the Tang Dynasty. It is a clear spring morning in the third lunar month, and a young Imperial civil service examination graduate scholar, newly named among the examination success, is walking with two new colleagues towards Great Ci'en Temple, south of the Imperial city, to see the Peonies everyone in the capital city has been speaking of. Their path begins at the water gate, where the waking city is just starting to stir. The water gate has only recently opened. Beyond it, Chang'an Broad Avenue is beginning to wake with activities. A water carrier crossing towards a side lane. A shopkeeper raising a wooden shutter. The distant beat of a watchman's drum fading into the morning. The sky above the tiled roof is pale and clean. The scholar walks between his two companions without saying much. In recent days, they have met at the posting of the examination results. Beneath the blossoms of the Apricot Garden and among the pavilions beside Choqing Lake in the southeast of Chang'an. Their names and home prefectures are familiar. Their silence are familiar too. All three of them wear freshly prepared brown-colored robes, plain but carefully arranged for the outings that follow the examination results. Their black headcloths are newly folded, and none yet wears the robes of the senior office. They are newly successful graduates of the highest Tang Dynasty Imperial Civil Service examination known as the jinshi, but their official life have not fully begun. They turn from the avenue towards the temple district. The air begins to carry incense, gemstone, and flowers. The Great Ci'en Temple rises south of the Imperial city, one of Chang'an's Buddhist compounds. Beyond the courtyard roofline, the upper stories of the Great Wild Goose Pagoda rise pale against the spring sky. The three scholars pass beneath the gate and into the peony courtyard. The fragrance meets them at once. A few monks cross the far side of the courtyard, carrying the fresh water towards the halls. Their footsteps, barely louder than the breeze moving through the peony beds. Stone path runs between long planted beds, and along each bed, the peonies have risen to their full spring weight. Each blossom are white at the edge and pink at the heart. Some are clear rose. Some carry a red so deep beneath the petals. All of Chang'an has been speaking of the blooming peonies for days. The great layered flowers that poets compare with wealth, beauty, and the fullness of spring. Still, the scholar paused. He had expected flowers, but didn't expect this much abundance of varieties of peony colors and fragrance. Along the far side of the courtyard, older officials are already walking among the flowers' bedrolls. They are bearing and formal belts, mark them as men long accustomed to the imperial offices. Two have paused beneath a deep red flower, and look at it as intently as if it were a page worth rereading. Near the eastern wall, a temple gardener carries a wicker basket and a small knife for moving damaged stems and a rain-bruised blossom. The scholar takes a breath and steps forward. The three young men walk the first path without speaking. Their steps fall softly on the stone. To one side, the flower beds lived in careful rows. To the other, the temple wall runs long and pure. From time to time, one of them pauses, only enough to look more closely at a blossom, or to notice how the morning light lies over the leaf and the blossom before taking the next few steps. This becomes their rhythm. Walk a little. Pause. Look. Walk again. The scholar finds himself drawn not to the brightest flowers at first, but to those whose petals have just only loosened to the day. One blossom is still half held in itself. Another has opened completely. Every layer visible. The center hidden in shadow and color. His companion on the right smiles towards a pale pink bloom. The companion on the left lifts one hand to indicate a white flower touched with faint green near the base of the petals. This gesture is enough. One quietly recalls half a poem line heard during the gatherings at Choching Lake. Then let it fade and finish. The flower before them seems complete without it. At the center of the courtyard, where four paths meet, the scholar stops beside a deep red flower taller than the others around it. The stem rises from a dense fan of leaf, carrying the peony bloom at a height where he can look at it without bending. The outer petals are dark as lacquer, where the shadow falls into them. Towards the center, the red warms and softens. He stands very still, not thinking, only looking. A breeze moves through, and the blossom shifts slightly on its stem. Not enough to sway, only enough to remind him that even a flower this full still answers the morning air. He leans in a little. The fragrance is strongest here, warm and layered, fuller than the scent carried across the courtyard. Then he straightens and steps back. The wider courtyard gathers around him again. Path, the peony garden beds, quiet voices, and his two companions waiting a little ahead. They continue towards the pavilion at the far end of the courtyard. On the way, the path brings them near the older officials. The three young scholars bow their heads as they pass, and the older men answer the gesture before turning back to the bloom. The temple gardener has moved farther along the row by now, placing the damaged blossom into his basket. From somewhere under the eave of the side hall comes the hollow knock of wood against wood. The sound is light and brief. Beside the pavilion steps stand a stone basin filled with clean water. On the surface floats one fallen petal, pale and almost still, turning only when the slightest current reaches it from the lip of the spout above. The scholar pauses here. He does not touch the water. He only watched the petal turn. One of his companions rests a hand upon the lacquer pavilion rail. The other looks towards the inner hall, where a faint thread of incense drifts outward. After a moment, they climb the pavilion steps. From the pavilion, the courtyard sounds become easier to hear. Though the hour is still morning, it is a listening hour now. Water slips softly from the narrow spout into the stone basin below. Somewhere across the courtyard, the temple gardener's knife clips a stem. A pair of older officials speaks in tone too low to become words. From the hall beyond the peony garden beds, a low bell sound once, then no more. All of it belongs to the same calm. The pavilion shades the stone path beneath the scholar feet. Beyond the open side, the peonies continue their small motions. The scholar hears the air move before he fully feels it. Then the air reaches the pavilion with the fragrance of the flowers. Not constant, but returning again and again. The three scholars remain beneath the pavilion roof while the morning grows warmer. From here, the courtyard no longer appears as one continuous sweep of color. Each peony flower has separated into itself. One bowed beneath its own fullness. One newly opened. One beginning to lose at the edge. The scholar rests his hands on his lap. The examination hall, the exam result, and the formal gatherings of recent days have begun to feel more distant. His companions are no longer merely two names from the list of successful candidates. He knows the prefecture from which each has traveled, the shape of each man's silence, and which flowers make them pause. A folded paper slip rests inside one scholar leaf, but he does not take it out. Not every flower must become a poem. One of them noticed a pale bloom beside the eastern wall has opened farther since their arrival. The others look, but no one answers. Water falls softly into the stone basin. A bell sounds once more from a hall beyond the courtyard. The fragrance of the peonies passes beneath the roof and then is gone. At last, an older official leaves the far path. A novice crosses beneath the covered walkway. The young man understands that the quiet hour is drawing to its close. Still, they remain for another moment. Now, the courtyard asks for almost nothing. The nearest peony lifts underneath the breeze and settles again. Another bloom beside it answers a moment later. Then a third, deeper in the bed, moves by more than a whisper. The fragrance returns through the pavilion. Sweet, warm, and gone again. Warm light rests on the path beyond the doorway. Where one fallen petal lies near the edge of that brightness, the color deepens. The nearest bloom moves once more. From somewhere in the temple grounds, a bell sounds once, very low and round. It passes through the courtyard and fades until it becomes part of the silence already waiting beneath it. No one in the pavilion needs to speak. The three young scholars remain where they are a little longer, held by the same quiet rhythm of petals, light, and air. Then, together, they rise to leave. And so, the young scholar leaves the Great Ci'en Temple beside his two new companions. The quiet of the peony courtyard still resting around them. Behind them, the blossoms continue to live in the third month breeze. Warm light lingers on the stone paths, and the fading sweetness of the peony flowers carries the whole morning gently towards the noon. The world we visited tonight grows quiet now, and you can simply rest here, comfortable and at ease. Your mind can relax. Your body can soften. If you are already drifting into sleep, allow yourself to sink a little deeper. If you are still awake, listen to the quiet. There is nothing more to do. nowhere else to be. I'll be here whenever you need another peaceful moment like this. But for now, rest gently and sleep well. Good night.